You have the wigs if you're the guy. Oh, how are you? Nobody plays their age. And our
Right.
acting teachers, when they were good, saying like, none of you are going to be playing any of these parts when you leave college. When
Can
you
I?
leave,
I'm sorry to hear. So wait, was Kathy Bates there when you were there?
Kathy Bates was there. She was a junior when I started, so she was a couple years ahead of me. And then Powers Booth came in after the
Oh, Powers
first
Booth.
year. He was
Wow.
he was there, Powers Booth, yeah. And so I
Did,
mean
wait,
it
did,
was
did Kathy Bates do? I remember like she came to speak to us when I was there because she just had won the Oscar.
oh yeah, that requires you need to have a name like the youngest sister in this shoots her husband because she didn't like the way he looked. Now in legal terms, they would say it is a crime of passion. So why don't you call it crimes of passion? So she called it crimes of passion, and we were going to do it as an equity waiver play here in California with all of our friends. The woman who was playing Meg, Sharon Ulrich, is still an actress in New York, gave the copy of Crimes of Passion to her agent. He gave it to his boyfriend, who likes to read plays on the plane when he comes to and from New York. We get a phone call from Gilbert Parker at Kennedy Airport, And he goes, hello, I'm trying to reach Beth Henley. This is Gilbert Parker? And no idea who Gilbert Parker was. And so I go, Beth, this Gilbert Parker wants to talk to you. So she's like on the phone, and he's like talking, and her face is like, and she's making signs to me like, he turned out to be the agent of Lillian Hellman, Mark Medoff, Tennessee Williams. He was the agent of the greatest writers in New York. And he said, I would like to help you with Crimes of Passion. Would that be all right with you? And
She's like, let me think about it.
And she said, yeah. He said, the thing is, you can't call it Crimes of Passion because Ken Russell in England is making a movie now called Crimes of Passion. You can't copyright a title, but you need to change that. So Beth came back to me and said, we need to change the title. So we get in the car, we're driving around, and I said, well, if you're Crimes of Passion, you could call it Crimes of the Heart, and it's the same thing. So Crimes of Passion became Crimes of the Heart. This is where we come back to the A story that
So
you brought up.
You basically came up with the name Crimes of the Heart.
Literally and figuratively, in any way, shape, or form, I came up with the name because Beth was not good at titles. So she liked me to come up with titles.
I
So
had the
anyway,
same experience with the movie Fast and the Furious. I came up with that title. They were going to call it Crimes of Passion.
Yeah, guys.
No.
I think they were going to call it E.T. Wasn't that the original name?
Yeah, it was E.T. or Forrest Gump. And I was like, no, fast. You guys are going fast. I'm sorry, go ahead. One of the first things I remember seeing you in was Thelma and Louise and actually Seinfeld. So, we're both really big Seinfeld fans. And
Yeah.
that episode is pretty iconic.
Yeah, Mark Hirschfeld was the casting director of that. And now I think he's probably president of TV at NBC. He is highly promoted, very, very competent, knowledgeable guy. And he called me up at home and he said, Stephen, we're having trouble making this part of this faith healer funny. Can you come and give it a try? And I said, sure. So I rode my bicycle to CBS Radford, which was right down the street. Went in, I met Jerry, and I sat with Mark, and then we read through the part, and Jerry was laughing. He goes, that's funny. Yeah, that's funny. Oh, that's okay. So anyway, I ended up with that part, and I have to say this about the people at Seinfeld. Now that I've been on tons of sitcoms, there is no group like the Seinfeld group as professionals, as amazing actors. I run into Jason.
Yeah, they all are amazing. And you were on it early too. Even at
I
that
was
point.
on it the first season. And they worked so hard. I've been on so many sitcoms where like people don't work that hard. They worked so hard to make everything work in every show. It was just amazing. And the work ethic on that, they deserve everything they got.
Is that a show? I mean, I know it was a while ago, but like, is that something that people bring up to you a lot? Is that one of, because I mean, are there like certain things?
Well, they bring it up. They usually bring up Groundhog Day.
I was gonna say, so that must be the one that does that get annoying after a while? That's the one that
never,
goes
because
back?
Really, it's a good movie.
Great movie.
And
yeah, that's a great movie.
It's a good part. And you know, if it were a terrible movie or a terrible show and they like me in something, then it'd be like, well, yeah, I wish it turned out a little better. But Groundhog Day was like one of the few perfect films, you know, certainly I've ever seen or been a part of. It was just, a film could go wrong so many ways, so many ways.
How do you mean? Like what?
And that movie has been kind of ripped off a lot since then. You know, they've done a lot of those types of movies.
Well, now it's like it's like a genre of movie now. Like people literally use that template.
What,
like,
Palm Springs,
and then the
Tom Cruise one.
Yeah.
And then Happy Death Day. They did
Happy Death Day. Absolutely.
Deep cut.
And they actually reference it in it. They make it like they're kind of like make light of it. Like, okay.
And I saw that in Happy Death Day, the person who's playing my part is a woman in a black leotard with short hair. You know, like doing aerobics. Like that was the Ned Ryerson in that movie. I'm going like, whoa.
Yeah, no, they went in a different direction, definitely.
They definitely did, yeah.
We have one thing that we have a friend of the show who's actually really Harold Ramis's daughter. Is she not? And
yeah. Oh, Molly,
and
Molly
you
Hector.
worked with Harold Ramis, obviously, in that movie. He's definitely a genius. I think that was the movie where he kind of had a falling out with Bill Murray, but I don't know if you saw any of that.
I don't know if you call, you know, they knew each other way too long for it to be what you would say is a falling out. When you're working on a film, you're in the middle of a war. And so as a director, you're trying to keep everything together and make everything happen. So, you know, I know that when Harold was ill, you know, at the end, he had the problem with the surgery. He had a simple surgery, and then that led to an infection, which led to his death. You know, it was something simple, and then it was not simple. And I know that Bill came to be with him at the end too. So, you know, you've been through a lot in show business. You get a lot of good and bad from the people you work with.
Can I? So you said, you know, making movies and kind of like go in the wrong direction easily. So what is it like? Because you've worked on so many things. So can you tell us more about that? Because that's an interesting thing. I think people, you know, most people don't understand what it's like to actually make a film and be on a film set. When you started doing that, you know, because you were a fan of movies, how was it weird to get used to? Because it's nothing like you would imagine it being, or was it at all like you thought it would be like?
Well, there's nothing to prepare for it. And you know, certainly in school, at SMU,
I was going to
drama,
say.
We read Shakespeare. We did scenes from Restoration drama. We did not read one television script or movie script. So we didn't even see what that was like or what was it about. So I was lucky, and some of the first things I did were like sitcoms, which were like short plays.
Oh, right,
you know, in fact, Norman Lear said that they used to call it the play when he was doing All in the Family.
Oh, interesting.
They viewed it as a play. Movies are quite different. But there's still.
Do you like doing it? Do you like film acting, or did you get used to it, or what was it like?
Yeah, you get used to it because you see. If I could put it this way, in theater, the hit of theater is reality. So an audience comes, they know you've learned lines, they know you've rehearsed, you're wearing costumes, there's a stage and a curtain. And transported by everything. When you do a film, everybody knows it's funny, especially if it's got gremlins in it, especially if it's got hobbits in it. You know, if the camera's moving around, you have special effects. Spider-Man, 3 Spider-Man, then you really know it's fake because it's all the actors who played Spider-Man. It's like, oh, they got all the actors together. So you know the whole thing's fake, so you're not trying to sell reality. Even in the special effects films, the thing that sells film is surprise. If you have moments of surprise with the audience, then it comes to life. And that's why great directors, like some great directors I've worked with, like Ridley Scott, Barbet Schroeder, and people like that, Harold Ramis, they create situations where there is surprise. And there's plenty of that in Groundhog Day, where, Harold Ramis sets up a surprise and he's able to capture it on film. So it transcends editing, it transcends music, it transcends a camera shot. Sometimes when you watch a movie, something could be ruined by one bad performance, and you go like, oh God, why don't they just kill him? Or how'd he end up in this show? Bad music, a bad edit, and you just are turned off by it. Or I'll tell you what turns me off, which is a kiss of death for me. If you're in a movie where they show outtakes during the credits at the end, that means that the producer and the director and everybody, they don't have any faith that this comedy worked.
Really?
Interesting.
I could buy that.
I could buy that.
You probably know, so like Being there was kind of a famous thing where they did that at the end of the movie Being There, and they say that might have cost Peter Sellers the Oscar because it's like outtakes of him and it kind of takes you out of his performance a little bit.
Yeah, you have him laughing on the table.
Him laughing,
And that was such an amazing movie, an amazing performance. But I see it all the time on comedies that don't quite work, that are kind of loud but don't quite cut it. They always do these end credits outtakes where basically it's just the actors not remembering their lines and laughing and going like, oh, I guess I got to shoot myself in the head.
Yeah, you're kind of like, I'm glad you guys had so much fun.
Yeah.
But you're actually so good. I mean, you're good in any role, but I see you as such a comedic actor a lot. Do you like doing comedy roles?
Yeah. Did that kind of naturally happen, or was that something you were
Did you something you see yourself doing?
It kind of naturally happened. I always liked comedy, a head start. And when I did Groundhog Day, we were shooting My Scene with Bill. We started shooting My Scene with Bill, first shot of the first day of the shoot.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And I
no
was
pressure.
I was nervous as a jackrabbit.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, what's that like? Like, she'll be like, hey, Bill Murray, okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
And not only that, but I've been working on another film in California at the time who had the same line producer as Groundhog Day. And what that meant was they knew how to get around the SAG rules of how long you're supposed to give an actor rest in between shots. So I was working on, I think it was Calendar Girl in Paris, California. Then I had to take a 2-hour car trip to LAX that afternoon, fly to Chicago, get to Woodstock, Illinois, where we're shooting. I get to my little hotel at about 2 a.m, and my call time is 6:45 in the morning. So I'm thinking like, oh God. So I have like 3.5 hours to sleep. Then I have to get it together
with Bill Murray.
I have to wake up. So I'm going down. I see Harold Ramis. I come over and see him. And I start saying hello to Harold Ramis. And Bill interrupts and says, show me what you're going to do. Show me what you're going to do. And Harold Ramis said, no, go easy, go easy. Bill says, show me what you're going to do. I said, well, just bing, bing, bing. He says, okay, you could do that. So, but it was never, so again, we go out, there's about 500 people in the town there watching. And Bill and I start shooting. And right before the first take, I look out at the crowd, and there in the front row of the crowd is David Nichols.
Wow,
David
really?
Nichols. Oh, really? And how that miracle happened. I had seen David 4 times in my life. The first time was when he coached me at Kimball. Uh, the second time was my first day in Los Angeles. I had his number. His brother Chris in Dallas gave me David's number in LA. I called him up and he said, well, do you want to have lunch with me today at the studio? I'm working on a film. And I go, well, sure, David. So I go out to the studio. He's in the art department working on New York, New York. And I have lunch with Martin Scorsese, Robert De Niro, Liza Minnelli, and David Nichols. My first day in Los Angeles.
Good first day.
Your first day in Los Angeles.
And I'm going like, oh my God. And Robert De Niro kept looking at me like, who's this guy? Why's this guy here at this
You must
table?
have been like, wow, this is going to be easy.
Oh man, here I am at the head.
I mean, it was such a kind of a different type of movie. When did you think maybe in the back of your mind the movie may not have worked, like while you were making it, because it was such an odd?
I knew enough about movies at this point to know you never know when it's going to work. And I used to go out and see all the movies, everything I was in, every TV show I was on. We'd have big viewing parties and have popcorn and beer and, oh, this is Stephen on this and this, let's go. And I had given up on that by the time of Groundhog Day. And even though I did see it, I was invited to the premiere. I went, I saw it right first day, but it wasn't like I was going to have a big. And I was amazed at how beautiful the film was. And I went like, damn. For me, it felt like a perfect movie. And the music Harold Ramis wrote for it, the Groundhog Day song was hilarious. There was just so many lucky accidents in there. Just an example, Bill was... The very last shot is Bill is supposed to take Andy out the gate and into the town. Oh, the Groundhog's area, all that. Well, we were in the middle of kind of a little snow flurry. And when you do a shot in the snow, you have about 40 people on the crew and you have footprints. So in between each take, you have to wait till all the snow is corrected to where it looks perfect. So they started to do a take. Bill runs out there with Andy, and the snow had come up so high that the gate could not open. So he couldn't open it as normal. And Bill, being Bill, not being perturbed by anything, lifted her up and carried her, lifted like through the threshold, the marriage threshold, lifted her over the front gate. Then he jumped over the front gate and they ran down the street together because he didn't want to do another take.
So that's the shot in the movie, right?
Yes.
Wow.
And because he didn't want it to stop for 30 minutes while they clear the snow and make sure the gate opens again. No, he's an improviser. So we work with what we got, and he's like this. He's that fast. So
and it worked.
Was that a movie?
It was beautiful.
Was that a movie that you probably get recognized a lot, but what has your life been like in terms of that? Because you probably get recognized a lot now, but is it a thing where people are like, wait, after that movie, were they like, did it get annoying? Did people come up to you and just go like, Ned?
No, because a lot of the people who recognized me were producers, and they would say like, we're doing a TV show. Will you be on it? I didn't have to really audition. Especially 90% of television is comedy. They are looking for actors who do comedy and film to put them in TV shows. And so, after Groundhog Day, I ended up doing a lot of TV shows, and then you end up doing fewer movies.
So you were on Californication for a little while.
Yeah.
Which is a show I loved.
It's fabulous. Not for everyone, but it's fabulous.
Yeah, it's a great show. And your part, again, was really funny, but you did like nudity on it, right?
I did.
What had you ever done that in your career? What was that?
Only in my life, not in my career. Yeah, right. Well, to me, it does, in college, when we were young studly guys, we played the Incan Indians in Royal Hunt of the Sun in loincloths. We did stuff like that. Or in Caligula, we covered ourselves with grease paint and wore jock straps and silver grease paint and walked on stage playing the Slave Boys. Yeah, we did all that, but to me, when you're naked in a film, it just depends on what the film is, what the part is, because you aren't really aware of your nakedness. It's the person opposite of you who has to deal with your nakedness, because you're just there and you're here. But, I'm working with Pam Adlon, who's like the best to be naked with. And she is one of the best people to be naked with in the world. And, it's...
Were you wary of it at all? Because that show was that was a big part of that show.
It was a big part of the show. I had not seen the show. When I auditioned for it, I didn't know what it was. And then I got on the set and I began to see what it was and how gifted that cast was and how gifted Tom Kaponis, the writer and executive producer, is. The directors were so good. It was one of the greatest feelings among a cast ever. So you felt you were in a safe place, even though they were filming you naked all the time, and having sex, and stuff all the time. I remember, they go like, well, what's it like, doing sex? So there was one, I'm always having to have sex with Pam, and so there's one scene in which I'm naked, and in the contract, they give you these contracts, SAG contracts, about being in naked scenes. And it says all the things you realize that this could be, and they're going to show you in sexual situations, but there always has to be a physical barrier between the actor, male and female actor. There always has to be a physical barrier. So in one show, the physical barrier between Pam Adlon and I was a stay-free maxi pad. So I'm shooting.
That's how I have sex in real life.
Yeah. I'm shooting with her for 2-3 hours with my face buried in a stay-free maxi pad. And Pam, the whole time, is making all sorts of jokes like, oh, God, kill me. I got 3 children. This is... God, Tobolowsky, this is the worst. Can you believe this? Oh, help me, please. Just burn the film. And this, it's just hilarious. We were just laughing so hard about anything. And you have to learn how to have sex without having sex. And this is a tip I give people. I told it to David Chen when we did the podcast. I said, the Tobolowsky Files podcast, I said, this is the thing you have to imagine. If you're a guy, and they're in a close-up of you, you have to imagine someone is cutting your toenails with a toenail clipper, and so they're, it's a little, yeah, okay, yeah, right. So you have to imagine that they're clipping your and sometimes it gets a little too close to the, whoa, oh, yeah, okay, that's good. You have to imagine, everyone at home, imagine your toes getting clipped by someone else right now, and they're not doing the greatest job. That's what.
Really? How did you come up with? Did you come up with that, or did someone give you that as a tip?
No, man, I came up with that myself.
That's a good one.
When you're a pro, you come up with these little things by yourself, or you just do it and you go like, this is just like having my toes clipped.
And it is a thing. The people always talk about, you see interviews with the actors, and they're like, is there what is it like? Is there kind of like something between you and the other person? But it's kind of like, it must be odd, right? Because there is a crew there, so how it can't really feel like a sexual thing, right?
It's not like that. But like, for example, I truly loved Pam Adlon. I do. I worship her. She's a fantastic person.
Really good.
So you have that feeling for her and that respect for her, and so whenever you do these kind of scenes, you find the thing about the person that you find dear, if it's quirky or whatever, but they're not calling my number to do those scenes now. That's just for the young actors out there. You know?
Well, I mean, no, go ahead. What?
No, you can. I had a question about another show, but
well, I was it gonna because I was gonna bring up Silicon Valley.
There we go.
Go ahead. What?
That was the question.
So with Silicon Valley, how did that? That's another show that I love.
That's crazy. That was crazy. So
was your character based on anyone in real life? Because I know that a lot of characters on that show kind of were.
I think so. And they showed me a film, and I can't remember his name now, but he was a big, like one of those guys, you know, not at maybe I don't think he was at Apple, I think Microsoft, but one of these big guys. They showed me him doing the hey, you know, they showed me this, but I remember I auditioned, and I auditioned I think like in June. Really wonderful casting director. I read for it. I thought it went pretty well. And then I didn't hear a word. Not a word. So let's say June 20th, not a word. I'm doing a film festival in Hot Springs, Arkansas, like first or second week of October. So June, July, August, September, October. My agent and manager are on the phone at the same time. That usually means big news. And they go, Stephen, they want to call you back for Silicon Valley. I go, what? That was like half a year ago. I didn't hear a thing. They said, well, are you able to come in today? And I go, no, I'm in Hot Springs, Arkansas. I said, I'll come in tomorrow. I'll come in tomorrow. So, and I said, and I don't know the scene anymore. Yeah, it's you know, it's out of my head. So they sent me the material again, and I flew back. God, Ann was so excited. My wife was so excited. Oh my God, Stephen, this is so exciting. So, and I had not seen the show ever.
Okay.
You know, when I auditioned for it, I looked. It was the first back in June. I looked on YouTube to see if they had any episodes, and they had some from the first season, because I think I come on season 3 or something like 3 and 4, I think something like that.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there. So I saw some of the first shows, so I got an idea who the characters were.
And you were working with Mike Judge, right? He's another Texas guy, right? Mike Judge, yeah. That guy's a genius, yeah.
A genius. But I mean, they're all so good.
Can I ask you, so like coming on, because you've done that a lot, where like you'll come on a show that's already kind of been established and will be a popular show. What is that like? Is that hard sometimes because the cast already kind of like that they have a dynamic and you're the new guy? Like,
and it's
how do they treat you? Are they like?
Well, the thing that's most important is that you've auditioned for the executive producers. So they're the ones who really call the shots. So, and you've worked with the you know, I've worked with Mike Judge in the callback. I worked with everybody in the callback. Everybody got their time to work with me and see what I was going to do. So I knew I had their approval when I went in. I knew I had their approval. And so if Thomas or, you know, or if anybody in the cast was like, what's this guy going to do? You know, I just did what I did kind of in the audition and the way I saw doing it. And it took a little while of me kind of getting used to everything to kind of fit in right to that, to see what the whole comic structure of everything was.
But it kind of fit maybe because your character was kind of supposed to be maybe a little bit like on the outside of them, sort of, because
and it fit because I'm supposed to be older. I'm supposed to be not with it, you know, like the box. You know, my whole thing is.
Did you have a ponytail on that show? I wasn't sure.
No.
Oh, I thought you might have. Okay, that might have been another show though.
I had a ponytail in. I had a ponytail on Las Vegas, and I had a ponytail on this. Comedy thing with the oceanographers, where they were. It was a debate about was it pedophilia pro or con, and I was pro pedophilia, and so they have me in this flowered shirt and I'm living on an island off the coast of Samoa or what.
I kind of remember that. What? Okay, yeah.
It was the guys who did Big Time in Hollywood, Florida. You know, just those, just the funniest people in the world.
I just
Alex
have
Zalmwanger and Dan Schimpf, so funny.
So this is kind of, we were talking about earlier, how you kind of, you were good at comedy, and it kind of, there was a natural progression of that. What do you, I mean, was that something that, like, what do you think it's harder to do that than dramatic acting? I know a lot of people are saying comedy is the hardest thing. Do you, and also being an actor, would you say the key to being funny a lot of times is not trying to be funny? Do you think that's a trap people fall into a lot? Is
something Harold Ramis, something Harold Ramis said is important for all the actors out there who hear this, who interested in comedy. Harold Ramis said comedy lives in the two shot. So in Groundhog Day, he made sure that Bill and I were always in the same frame together. He says, because you have to see the world and you have to see the aberrant factor in the world. Now, the thing that's so amazing about Bill's performance when you watch Groundhog Day, in the scenes with me, Bill is the world. He plays the normal guy. He plays every man, and I play the weird wild guy. But then right after the scene with me, he goes to the diner, and he's the crazy guy drinking coffee out of the pot, and Andy McDowell plays the world.
Interesting.
Interesting.
And Bill in that movie shifts from being the world to being the aberrant force in the world. You have to. So when I come onto a show, when I read a comedy script, I see, like, am I the world, or am I the X factor in the world that isn't seeing things right? So I get in a show like One Day at a Time, I'm Dr. Berkowitz.
That show was canceled too soon, by the way. That was a very good show.
Yeah, it was just as good as it could be.
Yeah.
And so I figure, if I'm in a scene with Rita Moreno, I'm the world. She's the force in the world. Yeah, and if we're in the doctor's office, Justina who was the lead of the show, Justina Machado.
Oh, right.
She is the world. She is the world. Penelope, she's the world, and I'm the aberrant force in the world. I'm the doctor who isn't that good at what I do, and I just can't wait to retire, and I'm not so good.
So do you think sometimes people get caught up not knowing what they're supposed to be playing in the scene?
Yes.
So they're kind of
and
they don't know they're supposed to not be doing as much. They're like, I need to be funny too. So.
Yes. They get all the funny stuff. No, you're just as funny if you're watching something that's absolutely ridiculous and you're just straight.
That's really interesting because, a lot of people don't realize that, but a lot of things that I think are funny when I watch are the quote unquote straight man, the guy who's just reacting to what's in fact, I think most of the time, I think that's funnier. So
those Naked Gun movies and airplane movies are all about that. All those guys. Yeah.
Perfect example. Like on the Goldbergs, I'm Principal Earl Ball. So a lot of times when I'm working with the students I'm having to carry the weight of the world and laws and order, a school. I'm maintaining of order, and then the Goldberg kids are like aberrant forces.